So, welcome back everyone. I hope you had a great Christmas, spent time with your families and got some awesome presents. I myself got gift cards for iTunes, Nando's and plenty of other places, and I got so many of them that it kind of feels like my family don't know what to get me. I have told them I'm going on a diet as of January 1st, so perhaps the Nando's card wasn't such a great idea, but still, Christmas was fun, and now it's back to the battlefield. Welcome to Venice Unleashed. You might be wondering why I'm calling this game Venice Unleashed. Venice? Venice? I'm going to call it Venice, which is the code name for Battlefield 3, by the way, so I hope I'm right when I say that. And why I'm calling this Venice Unleashed instead of Battlefield 3? Well, it's clearly Battlefield 3 on the screen, so what's different about it? Well, Venice is a standalone client operating within the Frostbite engine that's powering this Battlefield game, Battlefield 3, and it makes some big changes. You can basically call this a mod, but I think of it more as a standalone client. If you think about what DayZ did to the Arma 2 engine, then you're kind of along the right lines. So additions, tweaks and changes all going into the engine to make the game experience very different from the original. And I've got to say, these changes have made Battlefield 3 even better. I want to highlight a few of these changes really because the modders have put a lot of time and effort into implementing them, and I think some of them are vital to a true competitive experience. And they make Battlefield 3 a very viable game to be played in competitions and events. And, well, thinking back, I don't really think any of the previous Battlefield games have ever hit it large in the competitive scene, and with Battlefield 5 or Bad Company 3, 2143, 1944, whatever it's going to be on the horizon, I think they could learn a few things from what's happening here in Venice Unleashed. First of all, high tick rate servers. This might not sound all that groundbreaking now, considering that Battlefield 4 has just finished the rather lengthy process of having this feature added as well, but trust me, this is probably the biggest feature of all the ones I'm going to talk about. Simulation rates of 60 to 120 Hz, that's the base rate at which the server runs, and update rates of 30 to 60 Hz, that's the rate your PC sends information to the server. This, from the old values of a 30 Hz simulation rate and a 10 Hz update rate, makes a massive difference to Battlefield 3. You're no longer going to feel like the player in front of you is absorbing bullets, and you no longer feel like you're super powerful and taking so much extra damage before dying either. Battlefield 3 was infamous for having an issue called the bullet sponge, where bullets you fired registered as hit markers on your screen, but never made it to the central server. This was because the game didn't send updates to the server frequently enough, and the server wasn't running at a fast enough rate to handle any extra information anyway. This makes hit registration much more reliable, and combine this with the twitch aim needed to be accurate in Battlefield 3 anyway, and you've got yourself a seriously good competitive battleground. Even more so than Battlefield 4, I'd say, which, as I said, has now had the high frequency update treatment as well, but it feels very bloated in terms of fancy features. Venice is as stripped back and basic as Battlefield 3 was, which for me makes it ideal for fair, balanced gameplay. Number 2, a Spectator Mode. Now unfortunately, as Venice is in open beta right now, I wasn't able to capture some of this Spectator Mode properly. The spawn system was broken on the server that I joined, and everyone was inside an unenterable room on Metro, which didn't make the Spectator Camera all that useful. But it is in there, using the scoreboard to select the player that you want to spectate, or by hitting the free camera button on the scoreboard as well, you can pick and choose who you want to be looking at. This feature, although it's very basic right now, is one that the game needs if it's going to have a fighting chance in the competitive scene. And I'm sure more work will be done in the future to improve the admittedly very basic UI for the Spectator Mode, but considering Battlefield 3 never had this feature at all, anything is better than nothing. Number 3, visual updates. Now, the more keen-eyed among you might have noticed the lack of blue filter in the footage that you're watching. Venice has done away with DICE's so-called visual identity for Battlefield 3. God, I remember the Battlelog post coming out about the blue filter way back in 2012. DICE were actually considering removing the filter totally at one point, as people were so annoyed that it made the game look like crap. And then DICE did a complete U-turn and said they were just going to leave it in. And some people were mad. But I digress. Here in Venice, they've done away with the blue colour grading completely and left the palette pure and untouched, which is really nice to see, actually. But Grand Bazaar probably isn't the best map to show you all of these changes. I mean, something like Wake Island or Strike at Karkand shows this off so much better, but at the time that I played, Grand Bazaar was the only map I could get into, and the rounds take quite a long time because I was playing 8v8 Conquest with 400 tickets. But touching back to the competitive aspect, there should never be anything, cosmetic or visual, obscuring a player's view during competitive play, and I'd argue in Battlefield 3 that the sun glare and the blue filtering, whatever they decided to do to that game, was a big hindrance when it came to competitive play. If you were looking down your sights and suddenly you're blinded by the sun, that's not something you can control, and that shouldn't be in a competitive game. So at least Venice is giving us the chance to switch this stuff off. And a few other things worthy of a mention as well. Venice has full modding support, and seeing as it's a mod itself, this is hardly surprising, but the modders have added the .44 Magnum into the game with a fade camo on it, which I think is a reference to Counter-Strike Global Offensive. A nice little addition to get the creative juices of the other modders flowing, I'll bet. We also have options to turn Suppression and Destruction on and off. Another great feature for the competitive aspect here. Removing the random bullet spread and deviation of Battlefield 3 Suppression is a big plus, and also being able to stop destruction ruining competitive modes with an ever-changing environment will keep matches fair and consistent from start to finish. You'll also be able to have multiple soldiers per account, which you can create and delete at will. You're no longer tied to the soldier you created on Battlelog for Battlefield 3 all those years ago. And perhaps the biggest plus for players who like to stick to certain servers, you'll now be able to host servers privately, and there's no limit as to which server provider you want to use either, like there is for Battlefield 3. So, Venice Unleashed is basically Battlefield 3 on steroids, but the good type of steroids that only provide boosts to good things and don't give you nasty side effects. If you want to give this mod a go, head over to the link in the description, which will take you to the Venice homepage, sign yourself up, follow the steps to get yourself into the program, and it's all pretty much self-explanatory from there. In case there is anyone wondering, no, this is not for consoles, which is a shame, as there are still 10,000 people playing BF3 on the PS3 and Xbox 360 combined right now, and there's a link to the stat page in the description as well. But yes, unfortunately, this is only a PC mod. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of this mod for Battlefield 3. Is it going to get you to download the game again? Or is it too late now and you've moved on to something else? Let me know down in the comments, and whilst you're down there, drop me a like as well. I hope you had a fantastic Christmas, and looking forward to the new year as well. Lots of amazing stuff happening in 2016. But until next time, my name is Westy, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.